luckily they didn't give it to us. I mean, even if they give it, we still have to spend the money on them, right? So.
Yeah. That's a pretty big thing, and also at that time, I've seen that while they were, because dad was taking care of mom in the nighttime, daytime have someone, but right after shelter in place, the next day of shelter in place, father actually had that stroke. So now the person who was taking care of the mom is not willing to take care of the mom at nighttime. So my brother-in-law would have to do that. While the dad is actually in a nursing home. Right? I remember the most expensive time was actually about $13,000 a month at the very beginning.
Yeah, the 9,000 that I show from the invoice is the basic cost. So if they have additional screening, they have additional care, or maybe so additional thing then it's going to be on top of that.
Yeah. So, questions?
Yeah. So I'm sorry, Sandy. Okay. I'm sorry if I again came in late. So those were your father-in-law. Parents-in-law, and so they were the costs just keep accumulating and it was draining, things like that. But did you have any program in place for them before this all started?
I think Jonathan already mentioned.
Okay,
because the
Jonathan?
time that
Too late.
Too late.
When I met with my husband, before we got married, my mother-in-law is a cancer survivor. So she had breast cancer before. She's a cancer survivor. So she's not qualified for any plans. Even that time I'm already in business, trying to set up something. My father is a smoker, and then my father-in-law is he smokes, and then he also takes a couple of medications then already. So he's not qualified.
So there's nothing qualified. Basically, just drain the money, cash paying.
Yeah.
Yes.
So during that time, just hoping that they are healthy. So nothing we can do.
And that stroke actually basically put everything off the caught everyone off guard. That stroke, and it's just shelter in place just happened.
So he was actually pretty besides taking high blood pressure medication and cholesterol and all those medication, he was actually pretty active. So I mean, we didn't know. So actually, it's on that day that was announced shelter in place in California, that was the day that my mother-in-law, the caregiver, told my mother-in-law to do dialysis. So my father-in-law stayed at home, and we were at home. And so by the time that the caregiver took my mother-in-law home and saw him passed out near the stair. So, and then she called my husband, and then they called the ambulance. So, and then he was admitted to the hospital. And that day, actually, we got a call from the doctor saying, well, you guys have to be prepared. His bleeding is pretty severe. He may not survive today. So, but he survived. I mean, he
was not what you've seen on the picture. He was actually on the 3-year coma? 2.5 years?
So he was not recognizing. We call him, he just kind of opened the eye, but he cannot do anything.
Cannot move,
so,
cannot do anything.
The picture that you saw when we visit him during his birthday, he can actually say a little bit things. So we asked him, I say, we asked him, say, because my kids was like, who's this? Who's the oldest? Do you recognize that? Which one is the oldest? So he can recognize who's the oldest. And my husband say, point at me, was like, do you know who she is? So she can even say Sandy. And then my husband asked him, who's Sandy? And he's like, your wife. So he can say something like that. But then for the first 2 or 3 years, he cannot say a word.
So, but you know what, Deanne, I just want to make sure that same thing. Knowledge is not power, but applying is. You've got to look into this. You've got to look into this, you know what? And for not only just for financial as one reason, family is a big thing, right? And also, I have another selfish thing. I want to make sure that I'm receiving care with dignity. I really don't want people to kicking me around. I gotta do this, and government make a decision. Or we have no choice because we have this. No, I wanted to have dignity. If I don't want to go to a nursing home, you know what? And most of the people, 90% of the people, when they receive care, they want to receive care at home. don't want to go to a nursing facility, right? They want to receive care at home, and that's something that I wanted to have. The decision that I want to have. All those kind of stuff, you've got to make sure that you understand. A lot of people, they don't understand this. That's why we talk about this as a blind spot, right? So with that, I'll see you in the next blind spot scene. Okay? All right. A question? Okay. Related to Sandy or?
Yeah.
Okay.
One is, could Sandy's parents have qualified these final expenses if they didn't qualify? And two is, what are the conditions and characteristics that would hinder people from getting any insurance or disqualifying them?
Okay, let me answer the first question for the final expense. So remember, I mentioned that my father-in-law is a smoker and then he takes medications. So that time, when I met with my husband before we got married, and then you guys, know I'm already in business. I'm in business 20 years. So that time, I know the importance of having some type of insurance, right? So luckily, that time I told my husband, I said, no matter what, with his condition, if we apply for insurance, it's super expensive. So what we did is during that time, insurance company do offer, and I think next time Jonathan can cover that too. There's some company that they offer that without doing medical check, you can get kind of like a final expense thing. So you can get a certain type of coverage. So that time I did apply for my father-in-law without medical check, but with his age, there's some age band, right, that you can follow. So a certain age, and then male or female, then you can get a certain amount of insurance without medical check, okay? So during that time, and then I think the policy, I can even later on, I can show you some of the policy in the future trainings, his policy that we applied during that time with his age and gender, I can apply 50,000 coverage for him. Now, but that is more than, 15 years ago. So now I calculated 50,000 coverage, but we pay into the premium, we already pay about 28,000 already. So you're basically getting a free, maybe 20 something, close to 20,000 something, right, for the coverage. So
yeah, let me put it this way. In my career of 23 years, I got three calls from someone that, one of them, they said that, and so referred you to me, and I want to check on insurance stuff. And then so I dig in a little bit more, and then they said that the wife just got diagnosed with breast cancer. And then I said, no, you can't, right? And then also another one will call me. I will still remember that I was actually in Costco at the time. I received the call, and then a gentleman who called me and saying that he actually went to see a doctor, do an ultrasound, some kind of scanning, and showing the kidney actually have a shallow. And then so he was worried, and then he called me and said, can I get life insurance? I said, too late. And so let me tell you this way, insurance will be the cheapest at the time that you really think that it's not worth it. Like when you think that you don't need it, it's actually the cheapest. Because that's when you're the youngest, you're the healthiest. So that's why I told people, I said, if you know this is a necessity, like you're gonna get married, you have families and all those kind of stuff, right? So you got to have that. You got to have that. I don't know, maybe my thinking is meant for I'm doing this business. Because when I was single, I really wanted life insurance. Number one, I want to take care of my parents just in case if something happens to me prematurely, they got to take care, right? And then, but number two, if I'm really going to stay single, I want to make sure that whoever close to me to take care of me, if I pass away, who is going to do that final dirty job for me? They are going to get paid, right? They're going to do that to take care of that. So that's something that, to me, that's what I was thinking. Now, I didn't think insurance would have so much benefit on, tax benefit, this and that, and all those kind of things. Never thought about it at that time. But that's something that I know that it needs to be done, get it done. It's unlike investment. If I don't do it today, I do it tomorrow, I may, maybe like I'm gonna have like one less year of growing my money. But insurance is actually between a qualified and non-qualified. Right? You'll be able to get it or not getting it because your health condition, because your age is actually moving. Right? Same thing for long-term care. Anything related to insurance is the same thing. Right? So take that, whatever old thinking out, and really think about you got to take care of the family, you got to take care of yourself. Right? So when family's young, take care of family. When family get older now, then you got to think of one day you got to take care of yourself. You got to take care of yourself. So, all right. So with that being said, thank you very much. We'll see you
One
on the
more
next
question, Jonathan.
Oh, hi.
Sorry, hi, it's Toby Ann.
Okay,
Thank
Toby.
you for the training, it's excellent. I had one more question for Sandy, maybe you could answer it also, but which insurance companies that we currently work with as WFG don't do health or medical checks similar to what Sandy did for her in-laws? I'm just curious, that way we don't, it's not like we can't offer anything to families that already have pre-existing conditions, but it would be nice to have kind of like those listed. Or do we just look for that in the search?
Let me answer that question. The situation all depends actually. It all depends. So of course there's some final expense but generally the coverage would be very, very small. Would be maybe about like 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 in the final expense, right? And that's one of them. And then also, but there's also something that about people if they're healthy, but back then, now that it doesn't really happen that much anymore. Back then they need blood and stuff, right? And some people, I've seen like buff men like this and they cannot see blood. When they see blood, they fainted right away. They don't want to do that, and there was actually insurance at that time. As long as you don't get over 100,000, like 99,999, then you still be able to get the insurance, but they will still go to your doctor and check and all that, but you won't get the best rate. So of course that it doesn't make sense. But right now we got intelligence with underwriting, no problem. Now, for someone who's actually older, like 60-some, 70-some, and they got a big chunk of money, and they wanted to get just some insurance and all that, there's also some program like that as well, right? From many other product providers. But Tovan, your question is an all-depends situation. So you really need to look into who is that person, how old are they, how much asset that they have, what is their goal and needs and all that. So, but if you want. I think that you should sit down with Lily and to go over that. Let Lily go over that with you, and if you have specific cases, then Lily can work with you on that one. Okay? All right. Anyone else? No. Okay. Well, this time, finally, thank you. Right. So.
Hey, how are you? You're the gentleman on Zoom the other day.
Yeah. Are you Connie?
Megan.
Megan, yes.
Connie's
Oh,
over
okay.
there.
I'm bad with faces until I do.
No worries, no worries. There's a lot of faces. I have my jacket.
Do you want to spend a few minutes?
We can get some water.